Things are heating up for XRP as $130 million plus in funds are now being transferred into wallets to buy XRP for the first time ever from centralized exchanges. Next week, we have a lot of things to look forward to in terms of FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell hopefully coming out with more dovish remarks regarding quantitative easing, shift into QE from quantitative tightening where we've been for the last several months. Now, remember, as always, never financial advice, just trying to put you guys on the plays that I'm in. If you're new around here, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and also consider subscribing to the channel. Let's go ahead and dive in, guys. So the overall market is green in anticipation of a pretty good week next week. Right now, it's Saturday, July 26th, and we're seeing everything in the green, which is always a good sign after having a little bit of a retracement towards the end of the week. Last week on basically Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were all corrective territory days. So again, outlook for crypto is looking good overall. We do have some obvious winners, a lot of news surrounding HBAR. XRP is still in the green today, up about in the last 24 hours, 1.46%, bouncing off of support, holding above $3. We love to see XRP holding above $3 right now at 318, up 50% on the month, which still, I think this is a great place to dollar cost average if you're looking to build out your initial position. You can do so on basically any of the major centralized exchanges like Binance, Bybit, Coinbase, and you can even do so with DFlow. The link is always down in the description below if you want to utilize them as a super exchange. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the things that we need to pay attention to. First and foremost, Brad Garlinghouse. Prime brokerage services, once dominated by big banks, are evolving to bring institutions into DeFi with regulated clearing for derivatives, swaps, and crypto while unlocking trillions in trades. Brad Garlinghouse returns for another round of crypto in 1 minute and breaks down how prime brokers simplify clearing between TradeFi and DeFi at scale. So let's take a second and watch this together, guys. It's only a quick 1 minute clip, has over 500,000 impressions in less than, basically 24 hours since this was published yesterday. Let's see what Brad has to say.
Let's be honest, who is better, me or David Schwartz? Hi, I'm Brad Garlinghouse. This is Crypto in 1 minute. A prime broker is really a one-stop shop that allows all kinds of different asset managers, whether these are well-known hedge funds, trading desks, market makers. It gives them a one-stop shop venue to trade and clear everything from digital assets, derivatives, swaps, all kinds of different assets. And these guys are doing trillions of dollars of trades. Historically, those have been really owned by the traditional commercial banks, the JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs. Banks now don't do, well, new players like Hidden Road, a company Ripple bought recently, is new to this space and they're growing.
By the way, guys, for the Hidden Road piece, make sure you guys actually do some research on that acquisition that Ripple made. Ripple Labs took a pretty big leap of faith in doing so, but also it makes sense with the vision that they have for cross-border payments and hopefully taking over Swift.
Very quickly by serving that same market, but also including digital assets as part of the mix. Having a well-capitalized and a super strong balance sheet player like Hidden Road is allowing more institutions to come into these asset classes against a well-capitalized counterparty, and that is prime brokers bringing people into crypto in 1 minute.
Amazing. So quick touching base. I love the fact that Brad is doing so after XRP has had a pretty significant month, up 50% from its basically consolidation point previously and breaking a new all-time high. So we know Ripple Labs has been working in the back burner. So right, they've been working in the back of house, ensuring that there's success for their project. And they're doing so by acquiring businesses. And that's one thing that people are overlooking. When we see these big transfers from Ripple founders, remember, a lot of you start worrying when we see sells and people moving tokens, especially the founders, into brokerages or exchanges. They could be using that money to then acquire certain things for Ripple Labs. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. Just because they're tied to some of the founders, it doesn't mean that that money isn't going to a potential business account for Ripple Labs to then acquire new businesses. So the fact that Ripple and XRP are seeing such a big run up in market cap and valuation. Remember, these are the founding fathers. They got in at sub penny, even $0 valuation, basically, when XRP was nothing. And so if they're utilizing that money to then grow the infrastructure, grow the abilities that Ripple Labs has, I think it's a huge win regardless. Now, I talked about in the beginning of the video, XRP Targets $3.82 is a new all-time high with over $130 million of fresh whale accumulation, and ETF momentum. XRP is showing signs of renewed bullish momentum as large investors, commonly referred to as whales, accumulate $130 million worth of tokens, even as the overall market volume is calming down a bit. Coupled with increasing speculation around potential spot ETF and renewed legal clarity, analysts are beginning to eye the possible surge between towards $3.82 mark and possibly even higher in the very short near term. I'm talking as soon as next week. According to blockchain analyst shared by Ali Charts, wallets holding between $10 to $100 million for XRP scooped up more than 130 million tokens in just the past 24 hours. Guys, that's $360 million worth, by the way. This significant whale accumulation occurred during a brief market dip in XRP price to the $3 support. So you got to make sure you're watching what the whales do, because oftentimes XRP or any whale in the crypto industry, they have some form of information or some kind of conviction that's telling them this is the right time to buy before a potential run up. And with big money for them, they don't need to see a 10, 20, 30, 40x return. Sometimes they want to do it for a double up, a triple up, a quadruple. So again, whenever you guys see the sells, make sure you're also watching the buys and don't get fudded or don't gain any fear, uncertainty, and doubt because of the fact that we're seeing sells. ETF speculation adds to bullish XRP forecasts, of course. Jamie Alcalih, CMO of Bybit Wallet, commented on the shift in sentiment. XRP is regaining market momentum as renewed ETF speculation intersects with the increasing legal clarity. This shift is boosting market depth and signaling a structural steps forward for XRP's legitimacy in the US markets. Ryan Lee, chief analyst at BitGet, also weighed in, stating $3.50 to $4 remains plausible in the coming weeks if the ETF narrative continues gaining traction. Mind you, whenever you're seeing these big time centralized exchange researchers, blockchain analysts giving these kind of things, they're always extremely conservative with their targets. So with that being said, I think we could do a much higher we have a much higher upside than what is stated from some of these blockchain researchers, because for them, they're always playing conservative. And for us, we always try to be extremely bullish and also share liberal forecasts and potential. Derivatives volume drops, but long positions dominate. And I love to see that. XRP was being shorted heavily at all-time highs, but now after we saw the retrace of about 15, 20% from $3.68 all the way down to $3, now we've seen the flipped in futures market for where people are actually longing or betting that XRP is going to be going up in the very near term and in the future. And we can see this both on Binance and OKX. Now they're outweighing the shorts. Price action. $3 holds, and the bulls now eye a new all-time high at $3.82. Let's see what happens when market opens next week. For weekends, I don't typically expect new all-time highs for cryptos. You never know, because Trump is kind of known for making news-based catalysts come to life on weekends in support to retail. It's something that he's done time and time again. But as long as Bitcoin and ETH are kind of holding up, XRP is outpacing both of them in the last 24 hours, and I hope we continue to see that for the rest of the weekend going into a brand new week. And now for the events. So next week, starting Monday, we have just some new information coming in. This is from the federalreserve.gov website. But what you guys all care about is, of course, FOMC, the Federal Reserve meeting. This here is going to be one of the biggest meetings in anticipation of 2025, because we believe that this could be the potential last meeting. Right now, the betting markets are not betting that we're going to see rate cuts as soon as this Wednesday and Thursday, the 31st of July. But Wednesday and Thursday, we're expecting Jerome Powell to come out with more dovish remarks. He's been extremely hawkish, saying anything to bring down inflation. Inflation has been at ease for quite some time. Things are calm. The economy's boasting, right? He's boasting about the economy and all the things that have been happening. Unemployment is down. Everything is coming back up. Finally, GDP is looking a lot better than it did in Q1 of 25 and Q1 of 24 and 23. The last few years have been pretty rough since we switched to a quantitative tightening type economic outlook, right? So the goal here for Thursday is that he comes out and says, things are looking better and we're ready to begin cutting rates. If that statement is made, then the market flips to official bullish for risk on assets like XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you name it. And with that being said, that's when we're going to expect the market sentiment to shift from neutral to partial greed all the way into extreme greed. And then we see up only for many, many weeks and even months with small retracements here and there. But I'm eyeing kind of where the overall market valuation can go. Right now, we're at a $3.8 $8 trillion market cap. But I think a lot of people are calling based off of previous cycles. So we saw it in end of 2021, we saw 3.7 trillion. Usually we see at least a 2 to 3x for market cap, total market cap of the crypto market after every cycle. So we can expect maybe even 10 to 12 trillion dollar market cap of 4x for the entire market. But I'm expecting XRP to hopefully outpace the majority of altcoins because of all the legal clarity and the strength of their holder base, the people that are able to stomach the upside and not click the sell button too quickly. So let's see where it goes. A lot to look forward to. I appreciate you guys' support as always. That's all I had for you today. And until next time, everybody, keep investing. Peace.